Hello everyone and welcome to another Planet Zoo tutorial. Today we are going to talk about Rockwork and how you make this look more realistic and more pleasing to your eyes and to make it look less repetitive. But before we start, let me just show you one example we have over here. So this is one of the rock formations I have in my Japanese inspired habitat of my new Summer Lake series. You can really tell how this looks somewhat natural, but I'm gonna show you some kind of tricks and tips how you can do it that way and to achieve this look without actually spending too much time and also without spending too much effort into it, because surely there is a difference between just so much effort and the same kind of output, and how you make it a little more quick. So let's jump into it. Alright, so here we have three examples of exactly the same rock formation, and you can see there's already a huge difference in what we've done here. So the first one is the very plain and simple one, where I've basically put down just a few of the rocks and just basically spammed the Z key to rotate actually the rocks and sink them in a little bit. We're going to a bit more into detail how to achieve this, but just want to show you this detail over here, how this looks. So it doesn't look super bad, but it also doesn't look super realistic. The second one is basically the exact same formation, and I'm going to show you the evidence in a second, but I've tweaked a little bit of the terrain and just kind of colored the texture. And the third one is exactly the same as the first two ones, but I added some more terrain to it. I changed the texture of the terrain, and I also added some kind of little foliage, just not too much, but just to break the mood a little bit, okay? And now I'm going to show you how to move one step ahead of all of these three things to make it look even more realistic and more natural. We're going to do this with the exact same piece we have over here. So let me just quickly show. This is exactly the same piece for all of those three. So this is what we have. All right, so these are the same things all over again. And what we're going to do, we're just going to quickly delete this path over here. We don't need this for the tutorial. We're just going to maintain this here as we have it, and we're going to take basically this one over here. We're just going to copy that over, just drag this so you can really see the evolution of those things, and we're going to make this look a lot better. So the first thing we're going to do, actually, we'll open the building. It's also very recommendable that you work inside a building, so you have it a bit easier to copy it around, which I'm going to show you later. So one of the first major mistakes in here is that this slapping together didn't really pay any attention to the textures of the stones. And here's a huge prop again to Mr. Haribo, who also reminded me of that wonderful trick that you kind of naturally do, but you forget to mention in any kind of tutorial. So here's me telling you that it's very important to look at the textures of the stone. And actually, this is where we are starting with. So you have to make sure that you're using the certain stone set. So in my case, the stone set is the Tiger Rock. Okay, so you can actually, if you want, you can just basically type it in Tiger Rock, and so you have all the rocks available from Tiger. You can also mix in other rocks. I'm gonna show you how I would do this and what is recommendable. But anyways, you can see the stone, and if you rotate that by holding down the Z key, and I would recommend that you mostly use the Z key and the Shift key to make things move up and down, and also make sure that you do not have activated the align to surface, because then what happens is basically that always the kind of thing always slips or kind of clips to the certain rock face, and you want to sink it in sometimes, and then it always plops back. So I do recommend to first not use it, but we will use the align to surface later on a little bit more importantly. Now you can really tell from the texture we have a very, let's just put that quickly down here, okay? So we've got a very flat white space over here, so there's basically not that much texture going on. It's almost looking a little bit more wobbly. We have some kind of dents in here, and on the surface on the top you have this more like weathered texture of the stone, and on this side you have this more roundish one with a few dents in here as well. So this is very important to notice, because you can definitely tell this is the texture that carries over from the top here. You can see that really, okay? So if I drag that in, you can basically extend that flat surface to the top here with this stone to make it a bit more interesting looking, right? And now what I'm doing is I'm looking for some kind of corners and edges where it nicely aligns. So I think, if we go here, this one looks fairly decent, and there you go, boom, it's in, and we extended this stone, and it almost looks like the exact same stone. Now I want to go a bit more further down, and I know that there are some pieces that I have a nice like a thicker texture to it, so this is why I'm using this one. You can really see there is also some nice flat textures on the sides, and there's like an overhanging piece itself, so I want to use that one. So I'm gonna move this in, and I'm going to, just move this in a position where I feel like comfortable with. And I think I'm feeling comfortable to bring this over here to the side, because then you have this little bit of a gap in here. It looks like a little bit broken and open. This is how we want to do it. And this is how you move forward. This over here looks totally unnatural, so I would just go in and take another rock and kind of look for where the texture blends in nicely, and think over here that works fine. And I want to break the mood down here a little bit, so I'm taking like a smaller stone as well and looking just where it is nice and kind of glues together with the texture available. And since it's all very white, you would not put that in here, okay, because that's like a hard contrast you don't want to have. You basically go naturally a bit more into this area, and then you see there is like this little bit of texture to the top left of this piece, so I'm going to tuck that here because that fits right in nicely. And so this way you kind of move yourself towards a bit of a nicer, more organic stuff. And I'm doing this very slow now for you guys, but actually what I would do is now I would go a little bit more in and just experiment a bit more with the pieces. So this one looks fairly nice to just kind of break into this one, because you have the same texture that is on this side is also here, okay? So this is how you can connect them. Now I'm just going to choose this again, move that in. So there's the texture. I'm going to rotate this a little bit to get this bit more of let's say depth in it. I'm just going to put this down here. And I'm not like super happy with the lower part of it, so I'm going to look for some more pieces. Yeah, that looks fine. And it kind of connects nicely over here to the right with the texture, so I'm just going to leave it here, okay? So this is how it kind of works out. But now, as I've said, we will come back to the Align to Surface tool, because as of now, this looks a bit too much like a staircase, a bit more like a step, and I want to break this a little bit. And there's some cool pieces in here you can use. I mostly love to use this bigger tiger rock over here. And if you press V now on your keyboard, you activate again the Align to Surface. And then what happens, the kind of rock just kind of snaps to all the surfaces available. And now here's the trick. I'm gonna go for like a little bit of a tilt one here. And as soon as you find your rotation that you think is good for you, you just press V again, and then it maintains this position. What you can now do with holding down Shift, you can alter the height. And I'm gonna put this here to the side, just gonna break this a little bit. So put this here. And if you press the Z key, you can just rotate that again on its main axis in the center. And I'm gonna go and have a bit more of another rocky face coming out of here. Just like that, so connects a bit nicer to the ground. Alright, so it looks already fairly decent. What I'm going to do now is I'm just gonna, slap a few pieces in without actually talking too much about it, but you will see that I'm following basically the same pattern as I've just explained to you guys, and I'm just doing this to, alter the height and the texture a little bit more. And one thing that is very important indeed is that none of these rocks will always be so flat and tidily cut out. So there will always be a few boulders that kind of fell over, and so therefore, I'm just, I would always recommend to just place some of them in front of it here as well. Just kind of make them appear as if they were falling off of that rock. So you can just always put them just a few bits beside, and then also you can also have some higher rocks here and there if you think that's valid and kind of helps you to translate this into your area. And then you're just going to, it's basically also just experimenting at some point, just trying to find the right pieces for the right position, and then you're just going to lower them down into the ground as much as you need them to be there. And then you could even go in and now try to go even smaller here for the front. There you go, getting even smaller pieces in so that you get even smaller little details here and there. Just going to make like another connection here, and another one goes in here, and then I don't know, maybe there's even more I don't really like about this. So that could be something cool. And at a certain point, if you have enough kind of base material, you can always go in, just copy some pieces, okay, and just rotate them again and sink them back in to just kind of create a bit more of a pattern. And then if I like this to the side, I'm just going in and deleting some pieces to not make it super repetitive. And then I'm just going to bring in some new ones to again make sure it's not looking super repetitive. So on this side, I want to make sure that this connects with the lower boulders as well. And you have already this pretty nice and realistic looking rock. And well, this is how I would continue from over here. So this is the building. You can see this looks already fairly decent. But before we go on, we can actually already start to alter the terrain a little bit, because that was all flat. What I highly recommend is make sure that the intensity goes all the way down to 20 or maybe even 10 if you have the patience, and make sure that you're using the paint you want. I go to selected, and I always use the smooth rock first of all, because the smooth rock is always the kind of rock that fits to the rock you have in your actual biome you're in. So since I use the Tiger one and not the Europe one, this is not like exactly the same, but since I'm using a little bit of the lower intensity, it kind of helps as well to use that, and you kind of can blend this in, and as I said, you just start to test a little bit how you want to blend that. Okay, so I'm also going to raise that here a little bit because I don't like this little bump over there, and then you just do the same. You just go over and just kind of paint this all over. You can also keep some little grass here and there if you want. I want to make sure that this is all a lot higher to the back side of it, okay? So you just want to make sure that there is a lot more soil going in here, and then you can also just lower it down to a certain extent at other places to kind of create a bit more of a natural terrain flow in general. So I just want to make sure that this goes down. And since it all uses the same texture, you won't notice too much of a difference. But what you do then, you just go into texture and you can alter this a little bit more. You can make this appear a bit more rocky in here. You know, just be very careful, don't overdo it. The worst thing you can have is a repetitive texture, and this is why you just want to be very careful and blend things into together. And then also, people tend to forget to use different textures than only rock. And what you can do, you can just easily, even deeper, like even 10%, and then just click a few bits here and there, and you cannot really tell, but if you go closer, you can see that there is a tiny bit of texture coming into the one you've already placed down, and this is giving it a bit of a different shade and a bit of a darker tint to it. And once you've done that, you can even experiment with other ones. If you think that maybe some sand in here would look cool, you can see there's just so ever so slightly there's a little bit of sand in here. You maybe want to have some sand in there, and also some falling down. Okay, this little bulb down here doesn't look good, so we want to have some grass in there, because that is kind of where also some water could be held in, and then there is some grass, and you know, we also want to have some grass around that corner. And there you go, look at that. This looks already a lot better than before. And as I said, since you always would have some nature around, I would also recommend to, you know, if you go for tiger, just type in tiger and then just turn off the blueprints, go into everything, and then you get some tiger plants that actually fit to it, and then you can basically start to use some of the foliage you have in here to make your overall rock look a bit more realistic. You can always, like I do here, sink in some pieces to get some cool effects here and there if you want. It depends a little bit on what you want to create. So if this is in a forest, you definitely want to have more foliage. If it's not, if it's kind of a freestanding one, you want to be a bit more careful with that. But you can always try to make sure that you use the pieces to your advantage. You know, you can also have like stuff growing out of the rock. If you feel confident enough, you can just go in. Let's just try this little small bit here. That's kind of growing. Where could it be growing? I think I don't really like this tree too much for being grown. No, let's take something else. We can use that one. I think I feel better doing this. You can just put that here. You have this tree growing out of here, and then if you don't feel confident having that this way because there's no soil, you can actually go the extra mile and then just take some of the soil pieces, of the mulch pieces, and just basically kind of create something like that. Okay, so a bit, you know, like a little bit of soil down here, and then you can also take some fern to blend that in. So there you go, and you have some more fern down here in the front. A bit goes here, and then there you go, guys. This is it. And if you want to make sure that you use the most of it, you can basically take that all, create a scenery group out of it, and now what you can do, and therefore I'm just going to copy that over. You can obviously take that one, just copy it over, rotate it a few times, just be creative with the rotation you're using, and then you sync that together. you can basically try to get rid of this tree first, because maybe you don't want to have that many trees, and it's kind of easier to, you know, put them in yourself later on as well. But then you can just, you know, just experiment a little bit with what you want to do. Just kind of try to do this, then you just get rid of the big boulder in the middle. You can always go into the build, get rid of some pieces if you don't feel them fitting, and there you go. You know, this is then what you've done. And if you've basically created that, you can always go in and just add a little bit of your own flavor to it by adding a few more of these rocks. Okay, so just, you know, for example, I go here now, just look at the texture as much as you can, just trying to blend that all well together. Make sure that you don't always use the same rocks, and yeah, just kind of creating a bit of a new pattern. There you go, you've created that. If you don't like this and you want to have like a bit of a bigger flow, you can always yeah, just add some more big pieces to it. So this way you kind of get rid of the same repetitive pattern quite quickly, just, you know, just doing it that way. And then also the other boulder comes here, and you see, this is pretty simple. And in terms of, you know, making this look finished, we're just going to take that tree, because it's the same type of tree, but this time we want to have it a bit more in the back here. There you go, and you have your perfect kind of rock here, and you could easily embed that now into whatever habitat you want. Now, I was promising you guys that we are also looking into using different types of rocks. Now, I want to keep this example over here. Now, it's really important that you don't overdo it, because too many of different types of rocks look weird. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go in and make sure that you check the textures of the different rocks. So this one over here, first, the impression is it doesn't go together. The cool bit is those go together. I'm going to show you in a bit. So I'm going to place this down so I know that this rock works. Now, we can also check this one, but you can definitely tell, nope, there's no way that these go together. Yeah, well, we can skip the snow. And then there is like the temperate rock, which is already pretty damn close to this one. And this one works absolutely fantastic together with the other one. But you have to make sure to decide whether you want to have the brighter or the darker one as your most prominent rock in here. Okay, so you have to decide. And then we have this I think this should be the tropical one. Yeah, I find the tropical one goes together with the darker one. It doesn't really go together with the brighter one. If you want to create some soil, that might be something that works, but I would not recommend to use them. And the tundra rock does work together sometimes as well. So I'm gonna put those three down, and I'm going to show you how you utilize those to the max. And actually, we'll bring all of these types of rocks in without making it look weird. Okay, so starting off with the dynamic moss piece, let's go into nature again. Oh wait, the game is doing weird stuff again. Let's do it again. Dynamic moss, there you go. And what I'm willing to do here is I'm willing to just blend this in as a little mossy piece. Okay, so we're going to look where the foliage is, and we're going to blend the foliage here, because that's the way you can actually blend this in nicely. So the most important thing is that you always bring it back to somewhere where there is some more greenery, which in our case is the grass down here. Okay, so let's go to nature and let's see what else we have in here. Look at this piece, this can help us as well. Blend that in here, and yeah, I think that's quite nice. The most important thing is you should never ever leave this one area. Okay, now as you've started it, you have to continue and bring more of this in. Okay, so one thing I see, it can already work together with this foliage over here. Okay, so we are just going to try to find the perfect positioning, and since all of these pieces were too big, we're going to go for some smaller pieces here, you know, just trying to make sure that the, you know, mossy stuff works here. I think this piece could help us out a bit more. Just gonna bring that in here, and as I said, just always bring this down to the grass. Okay, so we've got some more stuff here, and I think one more needs to go to the back side here. So go back to this one. In this case, I want to use that mossy piece here. Look at that. You can actually create, you know what we do? We create like a texture all over here, and then just kind of bringing that down, having some stuff peeking out here and there. That should be fine. And trying to find like the right balance, you know. This should be a good position to bring some stuff in. There you go. And we can also have something in this little corner here, you know, just like following that one. And then, yeah, I'm not entirely happy with how this looks, but you know, we can just bring that in. Look at that. Okay, so we have some of the pieces in. You know, we could also go in and make this. Yeah, you know, we just do this for the moment. Just bring in a little bit of mossy part here. And then we can also have the more dynamic one looking in here. So one thing in particular you can do, this is very, very fun as well. If you take one specific rock, this, for example, would be the Tiger Rock 04. You just go in, and this is pretty handy. You just type in Control X to exactly duplicate from the origin, and then you go to, well, you go to here, and you just basically take the same dynamic rock 04, and what it does, it puts this rock into the exact same position. And now by slightly altering the position, you can see that it blends in a little bit like this. Okay, so you can try this in exactly this way, and just kind of creates this little nice overlap of texture, and you can try to use it that way. It might look strange from up close, but if you zoom out, it kind of creates a nice little overlap. So we can, you know, we just leave that as it is, okay? And so there you go. This is how we embedded the moss piece. This darker one, I basically always use this in case of these brighter areas. I'm gonna use this also to make some, and we're just going to do this pretty quickly now, to create some shadows and to create some more depth to some areas, you know, because it's slightly darker. You can leverage this piece and just create some more contrasty areas if you want to have those, okay? So just if you have some boulders down here or just more contrast, we're just gonna put them in like this, okay? So see, it already creates a bit more different texture. I like this quite a lot. I'm just, you know, usually you should use more of these pieces, different pieces, but you can achieve quite a lot with only one piece if you yeah, keep rotating it, keep using different sides of it, different types of textures, and yeah, then you're good to go using the same piece. But yeah, so this is how I would use that one. And this bit over here, this can be used specifically to make some sides of the rocks look different, okay? So you quite often see this, that you have some sediments and stuff in one area where only one side of the rock is different. So what I want to do here, I want to make this entire flat surface look a bit different by using this stone, and we are going to do the exact same to this piece over here, okay? So therefore we are going to go in. This is the Tundra one, and so we are just going to, no wait, is this, no, this is Tundra, it's Tundra, okay, never mind. Okay, let's do Tundra, rock, there you go. And now we are just going to use some of those. And what is, as I said, very important is to make sure that you make this surface look different, okay? So try not to go too much into these other areas. Just make sure that you remain focused on only this flat area, okay? Just try to use the align to surface here and there where it is usable and where it might help you, but not all over the place, okay? Just try to make sure that you get some cool depth in, cool effects for the depth, like so. Then you have some, you know, variation in, just some different ones. Here you go. I think this is already pretty decent. So using that one as well to blend that in. So here we go. We have that one, and let's do the same over here. Just leveraging the same effect. Just gonna bring that in, and then from here, you just basically what you do. This time you don't even need to watch too much at the texture. What you want to do here is really make sure that you keep focusing on only the flat surface and not go too much into the rest of the build, because that will look quite unrealistic in a second. So yeah, but you can really tell this is coming together nicely here. Just making some stuff like this work. And then I'm not really happy with how this looks, okay? So I'm gonna blend that one in, and there you go. I think that's it. And to make sure that this doesn't look too weird, we're just going to move this one a fairly bit to the backwards, and then let's get the sunlight a bit more into play. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Good, look at that, guys. So it's done, and it's looking fairly realistic, doesn't it? So you have basically a lot of variation to use with the rocks. And as I said, as soon as you've done that, and we haven't taken that much time in here, you can basically go in and just, copy that over as much as you want. Just create one building out of it, and then just copy that. See, it's the whole rock face. I'm gonna move this into the ground a little bit more, a little bit less, however you want, and already you create something different. See, that's it. And as I've shown you, to make sure that this doesn't look weird or such, you're just always making sure that this, just in general is blending well together with the nature. You would now need to go in and do some, painting down here to the ground, just making sure that this all looks good and blended in well. But you can just create some more realistic looking stuff that way. And I really hope you guys enjoyed today's rock tutorial, because this is exactly what I wanted to show you, how to use the rocks in a game to make something look more realistic and more natural rather than these repetitive blocks and formations. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like this and you want to see more tutorials, there's a whole playlist for only tutorials. And in case you like the content in general, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That helps out a lot. And I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Goodbye, everyone.